Inside Carolina Live post-game coming at you. What is up, everybody? I'm Joey Powell, not Tommy Ashley. Tommy Ashley is on assignment tonight, but instead, for the 200 and some odd of you that are watching us live, what's up? I have the honor to bring in Earl Roberts of Blue Island, Illinois. Y'all know him as Big Shot Bob, Bobby Frasor. Bob, first things first. We actually have to talk about that game. We can't just discard and assume that the tape is going to be burned. I'll ask you first, since you're on the show and Dewey's not. Tell me what your favorite win over NC State was before we get into the dissecting this one.
Against them, like when I played, or just
your favorite win when you were wearing the uniform against NC State.
So it's actually funny. That was our first ever ACC game. Julius Hodge, no, not Hodge, it was the year after him. We started down 12-0. We ended up winning the game. It's Dave Noel windmill dunk at the end. I think that was my career high as well. My first ever ACC game. I scored 17 points. I don't know if I ever scored in the teens again. So I'm going to go first time ever playing NC State. It was at home, freshman year. That was a blast.
Well, you talk about you having a career high. Let's go ahead and go to some stats to begin with. And I'll be honest, man, I know that there were some good things to take away from that, but pretty basketball was not one of those things. I think the first thing I want to jump to, though, I'll save Ian Jackson for later because I know we have plenty to talk about with him, but I've got to focus in on Jalen Washington. I mean, for all of the struggles that North Carolina has had in the post, for Washington to come out and post 11 points, 12 rebounds, a couple of blocks, including the one that sealed the freaking game. How big is that for North Carolina to get not only a post, but a post presence, but one player stepping up and being exactly what they needed in a rivalry game? How big is that to you?
I mean, normally I'm like combining all of our big stats, trying to figure out some positive to put it all together and say, hey, we got 8 points from our front court, whatever it may be. But like to have one guy get a double-double, his first career double-double, he's starting to make some blocks on the defensive end. Obviously rebounding is what he needs to do. And to have 12 of them today was awesome. It's huge. I think it's going to only do wonders for his confidence. He hit the little baseline jumper. I think he can do that all day. We don't throw it in the post a ton, but I just think something like this could be, a little springboard for him to have a good rest of the season.
Yeah. And I've one that I've said multiple times on the Coast to Coast, and I felt like it today. I feel like Washington has to get that little 8 to 10 foot jumper every game, if nothing else, to make the other team respect it and force them to guard him. Because if he's going to be on self check, then he's not really doing anything other than rebounding out there. But it's great to see him get some confidence. It's great to see him step into a place where he made a big play down the stretch. I'll be honest, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I don't mind him jawing a little bit after the game because I know he was here the entire game.
Totally. I think the highlight was hilarious. Him going straight to the bench. You could see the state guy going, saying some things you probably can't repeat on here right back at him. But one thing I do want to point out too with him was that his assist to Ian to hit the three. I think it might have been we were down one or tied, whatever it was. Somebody hit a little pocket pass to him right on the nail, the free throw line. Yep. He kicked it. It was a great pass, good read, and Ian hit the three.
Well, and I think Bonner actually may have said during the game he could have taken a dribble and tried going up or shot it. You're right. And he made the smart pass and ends up being a three. Well, you segued me there. Why don't we go ahead and go? Ian Jackson, once again, does Ian Jackson things. We have said on the Coast to Coast podcast that he's a certified bucket, and I don't really know another way to talk about his offense. But I think one of the things today that was a little better was his defense. I saw him chasing around the perimeter, making things difficult as best he could. You see a guy go off like Hill did for NC State, and that guy averages 12 a game, and of course he goes for 20 today. But watching Ian Jackson against Jaden Taylor when he was playing against Michael O'Connell, and then also on Breon Pass a little bit, I felt like he was a lot better moving his feet today and a lot more active off of the ball on defense than he typically is. Did you notice that, or is that probably just him just being caught up in the game?
You know what? I didn't notice him on defense, which is probably a good thing. Normally you're noticing the bad, like, oh, he's giving up this, he's not doing this, he's not. So like the fact that he wasn't a liability out there that's all you're asking. We're not asking him to be a lockdown. We're not asking him to be Seth or take somebody's. I think he has the athleticism to probably do it if he wanted to mentally. But if he could just do what the coaches are asking, stay in front of his guys, play good team defense, and then continue to do what he's doing on the offensive end, I think that's all we need.
Yeah, this is Bobby Frasor, UNC alum, joining us today as the Tar Heels beat North Carolina State in Raleigh 63-61 in a game that had no alibi for most of it. Bobby, if I told you that North Carolina actually won the rebounding battle 40-38, would you believe that?
After the first half, no. I mean, it seemed like every shot they missed, they were getting offensive rebounds, getting second chance, shots. Well, luckily, they didn't capitalize on a ton of them. But yeah, that first half was not the picturesque half of basketball. But again, it's always a good day to beat the pack.
Another thing, I guess the word has gotten out that you are actually on the show tonight, Bobby, because we got about 550 folks joining us live right now. So.
It's also beating NC State here. It's gotta be we got to be a bump there. That's the bump.
Trying to throw some flowers your way. One of the things I think we saw in the first half, and you've experienced this, where I know you guys were in some games a lot of time where the intensity is so high. I think today in the first half, and I don't know enough about NC State to speak to how they usually look, but North Carolina in the first half, it looked as if intensity had overtaken execution. How does that happen, and how do you get out of that? I'm assuming it involves some of your older players, but I saw a team in the first half today that was matching intensity, which was good to see, but the execution was just lacking.
Yeah, the rivalry nature of it, everyone's up for it, and so I think both teams were amped at the start. There were a lot of athletic plays, a lot of blocks at the rim, and there was that one segment, whether it was from 14 to 9 or under the 8 timeout with no whistle. Teams are going back and forth. It looked like everybody was extremely gassed. They were playing hard. It's almost at the time, I've never done this, but as a coach, you could probably be like, hey, just go foul them. Get a whistle to reset, get everybody stopped. You got under TV timeout. There was no fouls called at all, so nobody was nearly in foul trouble. But as far as intensity versus execution, and you want to see both. But it's good to see an ugly game where the team's into it, the team's making, energetic plays, but maybe it wasn't the prettiest stuff, but we did execute down the stretch, I think, in certain regards to seal the win.
Yeah, man, that play where Cadeau kind of lost his dribble and looks over his shoulder. Again, you have to give credit to everybody there for not panicking. And I think that was a perfect example of good Elliot Cadeau, because he had a couple of turnovers in possessions leading up to that. But that was good Elliot Cadeau. And again, credit to Washington for being able to catch a pass there. That could have been.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a two-handed. He did catch it one-handed, gathered, went up and dunked. But I thought Cadeau was going to throw it behind his head, but it was good awareness. The play looked like nothing was going to happen. But then, Jalen got into a good spot in that little dunker area, threw it to him and then dunked. But yeah, he did have a couple. I think it was back-to-back turnovers on possessions where the game kind of seemed like it was getting loose right there. But he had a ton of assists, a ton of great plays, and that was one of them.
I mean, you still saw a 9 assist to 3 turnover day for Elliot Cadeau, and you'll take that all day long. R.J. Davis, again, did not have a huge scoring day, but hit some timely baskets. And again, I still think he's a nice luxury to have on the ball when you have to take Elliot Cadeau out. And I think you lived through that when you were a point guard at one point. You had Ty Lawson and other guys that were with you, those point guards. Can you speak a little bit to what it means to have multiple guys that are just as comfortable as your one at all times?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about playing the point guard position is just how taxing it is. Just getting the ball across half court into your offense sometime. And it obviously is a little different with the pace we were playing with Coach Williams and stuff like that. That was just once we got it to the big and swung it was okay, you can relax a little bit. And obviously it's nice to have Elliot there for RJ to play off the ball a little bit. But if Elliot needs to go out, to have another ball handler, a fifth-year guy who's scored, thousands of points, it's an insane luxury to have. Now, he hasn't gotten it going consistently on the offensive end. We're saying that he's still averaging, 18, 17, 18 a game in the ACC, which is crazy. But I was at the Notre Dame game last week too, and it just seems like teams can key on him a little bit more. Obviously not having Baycott here kind of hurts, and just having that inside-outside presence. But I think the staff will find ways to get him going. He'll find a rhythm. But that shot, I think it was a drive late. It was a big, big bucket. And, it was just him creating, getting by a guy and putting the ball in the basket.
I'm sitting here looking at some other stats, too, from the game, Bobby. NC State finished hitting 5 of their last 6 field goals and still lost the ball game. I was texting you during the game that I felt like what could be the deciding factor could be just a little bit of moxie towards the end of a game in a sense of just not throwing it away or not kicking it out of bounds or what have you. And it kind of seems like that happened for North Carolina tonight. Is that a sign of a team coming together? Is that the sign of just a couple of guys getting better at things? Is it just more reps? To what do you attribute, the other team still scoring towards the end and North Carolina being able to hang on?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if we came out of that timeout, we ran that backdoor play or whatever for Ian. Maybe the pass was a little bit off mark, misses it at the rim. So now NC State's coming down, chance to take the lead the first time. And the ref could have called a foul maybe there, the one on Trimble where the guy ended up throwing out of bounds, but I thought he was in front, kind of showed his hands. There was some contact, but again, it was great defense by us to stay in front of him. He ends up throwing out of bounds, and that gives us the chance to go down and score. And that's when, Jalen has the dunk. But again, little winning plays like that, to play in ACC games where it comes down to the one possession the last two games, it seemed like we were in more control at the end of the game, but got to credit NC State. They made some shots. They made some plays to get back in it. But, luckily or good for us to keep our poise and get that win under our belt.
Shout out to the almost 650 of y'all that have joined us now for the post-game show. North Carolina knocks off NC State 63-61. And this is North Carolina's third straight win. Bobby, can you speak to how valuable in-season momentum can be, especially when one of them is at a place where everybody in the arena would rather beat you than eat? And I know that's an old Roy Williamsism, but that's the way it is over there. I told some buddies earlier that team is or that fan base seems like they're perpetually incredulous. Like they're always just that's where they are. So North Carolina has 3 straight now in conference in various ways that they're procuring these wins. In your experience, how valuable is it to kind of make a little bit of a run? Is momentum in the season a real thing?
100%. I mean, especially in conference where we know we don't have the biggest margin for error, after the non-conference slate that we didn't have the quad 1, quad 2 wins, whatever that we needed to have to kind of solidify your NCAA tournament standing. So to have these wins, I don't know where they fall, where NC State falls in the net rankings and stuff like that, but to go on the road in the ACC has got to help us. And then you just can't slip up, at home. And so to have 3 in a row, hopefully gives us some confidence. Guys are playing better. Different guys are contributing. Obviously getting Seth back helps him, seeing the ball go in the basket this time a couple times in transition. I think he'll just get back to that, that self that we saw him playing, 3-4 weeks ago. And hopefully things can really get rolling.
A couple of things I'll throw at you before we wrap for tonight. I saw a team tonight, they only shot 8 free throws, but they missed half of them. I don't know that this team has been great at free throw shooting the last couple of games. I don't have all the stats in front of me, so if somebody in the chat wants to call me out on that, feel free. Are you worried about that down the stretch? I mean, even RJ has not, who is probably going to be the best free throw shooter of all time in North Carolina when he leaves. Even he struggled at the stripe this year. So I want to ask you, do you feel like that's something worth worrying about or no?
I worry about like bigs probably late in the game getting fouled, like never having shot a free throw all game, something like that. I don't think we throw the ball inside enough where we kind of get that advantage that we had a ton with Coach Williams. But obviously we don't have a guy like a Tyler Hansbrough or, Kennedy or Bright, whoever it may be that we can do that with. But as far as like team free throw percentage, like that, I'm not too hung up on that. It's probably just more the amount of reps and then a late game one, but also in the late game, I think it's going to be RJ who's getting fouled, and he's got all the experience in the world.
North Carolina again finds a way to eke one out in a situation where a lot of things were going against them. Again, they didn't get to the line a ton. They were actually basically, it felt like NC State was getting a layup line towards the end of the game, where North Carolina was pressing pretty well out around the perimeter. I felt like they were attached and fairly connected around the perimeter. But then once those, whether it was a ball screen or just a bad switch or what happened, there was always, it seemed like NC State was able to get that mid-range or layup. How do you stop that in the future? Or is that just something you feel like maybe Hubert Davis was willing to give up tonight?
I think it's probably situational, but like Hill he had it cooking. So then once he gets going, guys are kind of like, you're on edge. Like, what is he going to pull up here from mid range? And then boom, he gets to the basket or something late in the game. And then I think O'Connell hit a tough, 16, 17 footer. Like those are shots that like you're probably going to live with if you're Coach Davis. But the stuff at the rim, like quick layups, that's stuff that you want to draw a little bit more line in the sand and have a little bit more fight than just letting guys get shots at the basket like that.
Last question. I'll let you riff for a little bit if you want. This is the second game in a row that Hubert Davis has kind of whittled down his bench a little bit. You played for a guy who was pretty set in how he was going to dole out his bench minutes. Do you feel like we're starting to see a pattern as we get deeper into the season, or do you think it's just been, like you said a second ago, situational based on opponent?
No, I mean, I think you gotta reward the guys that are doing what you're asked, that are producing. Obviously, we don't want to go 6, 7. You don't want to have the shortest rotation in the world, but Lubin, Withers, whatever, like they just haven't been doing as much as you want. Like, hey guys, just get a rebound, play solid defense, don't turn the ball over. Like you're gonna get some minutes there. But if you can't hold on to the ball, like I think it was a maybe 34-35, like second half. Looked like there was 5 blue jerseys boxed out, like, and then NC State ended up getting the rebound. Or like I think Lubin had it. Yeah. Then when they miss again, they get another rebound. Boom, they score a layup there at the basket. So it's like little possessions like that just cannot happen. Like if you get 2 hands on the ball, that has to be yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're talking about Vin Lubin, while he did not have the best hands game today, looking at his stat line, 4 points, 9 rebounds. Only 1 turnover. I swear it could have been more than that, but I do agree with Bobby in a sense that there were a couple of rebounds you felt like he probably should have had that he just wasn't able to corral for whatever reason. But going back to Jalen Washington earlier, I'm looking 27 minutes, I believe, might be the most he's ever played in his career. And I think that's probably one of the reasons he's playing better is because he's starting to get more of a rhythm as to how long he can be in there, what's expected of him. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think it's the obvious thing, but Washington's going to be my player of the game today. Bobby, do you have one?
I second that. Washington for sure. When I watch him play all season, he spends a lot of time on the ground. When I was at the Notre Dame game, it seems like he just this game he was more on his feet. He was stronger. And like you said at the end, like I don't mind him, talking trash at the end. Like I want to see some fight. I want to see some toughness out of him. And yeah, like I said, he's the MVP this game. Hopefully we see more of it the rest of the year.
You played with a guy named Wayne Ellington. Had a pretty surefire stroke from deep and felt like he was always the guy that could hit one when the team needed offense, even if it was just to quell a mini run from the opponent. Starting to see a little bit of that in Ian Jackson, but granted, I've never played. I never played at the level you have. So you seen a little bit of Ian and a little bit of Wayne and Ian.
He doesn't have the pretty stroke,
right?
Like Wayne was just like
Textbook.
Something,
yeah,
exactly. And I didn't expect this from Ian. Like for him to shoot like this, I saw that he's made a 3 in every game. Like the run that he's on as a freshman, scoring 20 in however many straight games it is now, it's crazy. But his shot, they were talking about how quick he gets it off, and like there's not a lot of dip. Like he just kind of catches it, and he doesn't really have to like step into it to get his momentum going. His feet, he kind of just boom, like and it's very, very accurate. It's quick, and obviously he has that ability to get to the basket, so guys can't like just close out on him insanely hard. And like you said, he is a walking bucket. It's crazy. Some of the angles he takes, some of the finishes at the rim through contact, you think he has no chance of scoring, and boom, he's making some crazy tough angled layups.
Yeah, the Tar Heels definitely aren't eking out these wins without his contributions, regardless of whether he's getting threes from the corner or whether he's getting to the rack and finishing through contact. Bobby is actually not in Chapel Hill right now, but if Bobby was in Chapel Hill, I guarantee you he could go to Johnny T-Shirt and pick him up a nice new UNC sweater. Johnny T-Shirt, sponsors of this year's show. Also want to make sure we give some love to our friends at Congruity. Remember, email matt@congruityhr.com for your free assessment for your small or medium-sized business. They'll tell you how they can save you a little bit of money and get you back to focusing on whether it's your top or bottom line. They're going to get your mind off of back office stuff and let you focus on helping your business make money. All right, Bobo, before we get out of here, man, last riff from you. What was your final impression of this win and how North Carolina might be able to capitalize and compound on it moving forward?
It gives me I'm a little bit more positive on this team. Like I've obviously, as most Carolina fans, you watch all the games, like, oh, we're soft or this, blah, blah, blah. But again, that's going into a tough environment. Things weren't going your way late, and then you made plays, to get the win done, to seal the win. And throughout that whole second half, we built the lead up, 7, 8, 9 guys were making plays. Like you like seeing a little bit of runs like that. So if we can put together a full game defensively, offensively, like we did in spurts, I think there's a lot more positivity that can happen the rest of the season. So I'll actually be in the building next Saturday, heading down there. I'll be in there for the Stanford game. So looking forward to getting back on campus.
Now, see, if I'd have known that, I would have said that, when you're here next week, you probably will get a Johnny T-shirt, but I already missed my opportunity with that.
I'll be a Johnny T-shirt. I'll be coming through for a number 4 jersey. I'm going to buy. I don't even know. Do they sell them with Davis on the back? Do they?
Yes, they do. I'm sure that they could probably hook you up, and maybe they can twist the letters around. You know what? They screen print in stores, so you could probably
I'll put tape over. I'll put duct
there you
tape
go.
over.
That's the efficient way of pulling it off. Bobby, we appreciate you joining us, man. It's great to see you. Great to talk to you. Hey, be safe travels when you're coming down here next week. I hope that you get to avoid all the grossness. We've got a little weather down here, but it'll be long gone by the time you get here next week.
It's nothing. This is Chicago. I'll bring the Chicago weather with me. So
you'll come down here. You'll be wearing Bermuda shorts. I got you.
Exactly.
Well, Tar Heels beat NC State 63-61. Bobby Frasor, appreciate him making time tonight. Appreciate the almost 700 folks that joined us live. And if you're listening to us later on, we appreciate you joining us too. Just make sure you subscribe and like this here show and all of IC's shows. I will be back tomorrow evening with a coast-to-coast podcast. We'll yet to determine whether or not it's going to be live, but either way, we will be here. We'll talk about this game. We'll talk about the SMU game and look forward to next week. Again, Tar Heels 63, NC State 61. Win over in Raleigh. That's 3 in a row. North Carolina moves to, 4-1 in the ACC now. Bobby, it's been fun, man. We'll talk to you sometime soon. I'm Joey Powell. This has been the Postgame on InsideCarolina.com. Take it easy.